Mass migration from the savage third world nations and from corrupt and depraved Talmudic countries like Ukraine has turned Western civilization, Christendom, upside down. Here in the United States, 40 million illegal invaders are occupying our country. 40 million. And across Europe and into places like Canada and Australia, white Western people are meeting a similar fate as third world savages are being dumped by the thousands, by the millions, into the backyards of civilized people. One of the places that's been hit incredibly hard by this, especially over the past couple of years, is Ireland. Ireland has a population of just 5.3 million people. That's less than the population of at least 23 American states. It's less than the population of New York City alone. Ireland is a very small country, relatively speaking. And because of that, it won't take a whole lot for their people to be completely and totally replaced, which is exactly what's happening right now, as hundreds of thousands of third world migrants are being brought in and dropped into the middle of respectable Irish communities, just like we've seen happen here in the United States. Now, again, Ireland only has a population of a little over 5 million. So when 150,000 of these savages show up in a span of just 12 months like they did last year, it's a big problem. That makes a big impact. Already, estimates say that around 12% of Ireland's population is made up of foreign nationals with no Irish citizenship. That number was recorded back in 2022. It's even worse now, likely. We'll ask our next guest who would know. It has to be, though, given the number of migrants who've been brought in. And of course, just like everywhere else, as these savages have been imported, they have turned against their host population because they're parasites. They're Jewish-owned bioweapons, and they're being used to soften the target of Western civilization. They're being used to destroy us. They're being used to poison our gene pool, to bring about our demographic demise and the total demoralization of societies as a whole. Young Irish men are now being brutally attacked by mobs of blacks and sand people as they're walking down the streets of their own country, in their own communities. There's video clips of this coming out every single day now. Take a look.
Over east, I'm been through that tunnel. Legs, Lennox, that's just fun too. Try to push up on G, but I dust you. Like when I where the fuck you gon' run to? Come to her crib, I won't deal in my duffel. Naughty, dotty, it's a couple. KT ran from cold from the house, but I bet in the stone, my pool out of shovel. Like, bro made him lay in public. We started betting, we don't need a huddle. Somebody call him, like, we get in trouble. Right from the back to the fucking like, back I ain't trying to cuddle. Niggas wasn't on style moves on that block. How would that be? I'm trying to fuck. Bet y'all open that should be dropped. Run down and clean out the lot. Sweepers, my niggas shaking the spot. What happened to Naughty? You eat with the dot.
You could go on and on with these videos. As a matter of fact, you can pick any Western country, Ireland, the United States, England, Canada. You can find an endless stream of videos just like those. An endless stream of videos of young white men and women being beaten down by invaders. Women are being raped, kids are being raped, people are being murdered. The gates of hell have been opened on Western civilization, and our own fake governments, our Rothschild-owned, Jewish-run criminal government of the Talmudic central banking cabal, are responsible for it. Ireland has even had a gay Indian president and prime minister who was brought in to coincide with the country's brown invasion and white replacement. He was installed back in 2017, years before even England and Scotland were subjected to a third world head of state. Obviously, this is a humiliation ritual. You take a nation full of proud Catholics and you install a worshiping, Hershey highway riding Indian as your president just to let you know what's coming. Just to let you know, hey, your day in the sun in your own country, in the land that your people have fought for generations to hold on to, yeah, that's all coming to an end. And then you just sit back and open their borders. Just sit back and watch. Watch the show with your Jewish handlers. This is business as usual in the modern conquered West, and both sides of the fake traditional political aisle are in on it. Which is exactly why the Irish people, just like the American people, are looking for an alternative. And the National Party is looking to give them one. According to their website, the National Party is, listen to this, quote, an Irish nationalist party dedicated to the fulfillment of the Irish national idea. We believe in the Irish people, our right to exist as a nation, and our right to defend and lay claim to our homeland. We seek an Ireland united, Irish and free. We stand against the criminal financial institutions which have enslaved future generations of Irish men and women to debt without end. We stand against the corrupt and immoral establishment who push replacement level immigration, which will in time completely destroy Irish nationality. We stand against the project of a federated European superstate, which is explicitly anti-national and therefore anti-Irish. And most of all, we stand against the decay of a national spirit at the heart of our society. End quote. So, in other words, these guys are actually Ireland first. Not fake Ireland first like Conor McGregor. Not fake America first like Zion Donnie Trump. The National Party, as the name would suggest, is composed of real nationalists. It's composed of real patriots, men and women who aren't going to roll over and allow their country and their people to be steamrolled. For more discussion on all of this, one of these men joins us now, Justin Barrett, the chairman of Ireland's National Party. Welcome to the Stu Peters Show. Thank you so much for coming.
Good morning, Stu, or as it is evening here.
Yeah.
I'm very glad to have an opportunity to talk to your audience about what can only be described as a cataclysmic existential crisis that the Irish people have been facing, and almost uniquely in Europe, that it has happened over such a short space of time, that it has literally been the last 10 years or so. Then you go back 10 years in Ireland and you don't have gay marriage, you don't have legalized abortion, you don't have an overwhelming influx of a non-white minority. It simply doesn't exist. It's not there. And then all of these things happen all at once. Over the past 10 years, you get a sizable minority, and still a minority, but you get a sizable foreign minority. It is at 22% now, the total foreign-born population in Ireland. And that doesn't count the people who have been given citizenship and therefore are no longer classed as non-Irish. But of course, we know that in fact they are non-Irish and they have no loyalty beyond this paper certificate. They have no loyalty to the Irish people and nation. And all the consequences of that in terms of crime, in terms of the economic decline, in terms of the overall destruction of the Irish people's society, way of life, and way of being. It's just absolutely cataclysmic. And as I said, over a very short space of time.
Well, it's not sustainable, Mr. Barrett. And there seems to be a pretty simple solution for all of this in your country and in ours, respectively. Why are people unwilling to talk about this solution? Because it's so difficult? You know, if we would stop sending our money to foreign interests, we would have the money for mass deportations. We would have the military apparatus to carry out these operations if we didn't have, speaking of the United States, our military deployed all over the world, protecting other people's borders and their walls and their sanctions and their prosperity and their individuality and their countries.
Well, to put it in purely financial terms for Ireland, the cost of having the immigrants here, the asylum seekers specifically, is €6 billion a year. Now, that might seem like small change in American terms, but I can tell you, for an economy the size of Ireland's and for a population the size of Ireland's, 5.3 million is the population, as you say, somewhere between that and 6 in total. If everybody's not lying on their census forms. And we have to assume that quite a lot of these illegals are lying on their census forms. So we've got the legal immigration, we've got the illegal immigration, we've got this huge problem. And we have €6 billion to spend on solving it if we just turned our minds to the idea of free migration.
Yeah, economically, I agree with you 100%. I mean, this will bankrupt any country that has an economy of any size. I mean, it's all relative.
Pretty much.
You know, it's bankrupting this country, it's bankrupting your country. But I want to talk logistics. So logistically, how do you make this happen? What's your method? What's your proposed policy to end this situation permanently?
Well, in Ireland, the problem is actually relatively easy to solve at this point. And why it's relatively easy to solve is one of the reasons why the problem is so bad is that the vast majority of non-white immigrants in Ireland are in receipt of social welfare benefits from the Irish state. And they have come precisely in order to seek those benefits and to avail of them. So the solution to Ireland's problem in the immediate sense, and this would dramatically remove the influx pressure, the push pressure, as it were, into the country, would be to remove those social welfare benefits from the non-Irish. Then you get an immediate halt to the numbers coming in, and you get a large section of the population that's already here seeking to find somewhere else, at least in Europe, voluntarily find somewhere else in Europe, find another sucker, if you like, to be a parasite upon. So
Who
it's a
opposes
relatively
this?
problem. Pardon?
Who would oppose this?
Well, you put your finger on it there. It is ultimately the Jewish money power, and it is ultimately the Jewish money power that's in control of the political system in Ireland. But the language that's being used is the language that's being used everywhere, which is, you say remigration, they say racist. You say non-white, they say Nazi. You say international finance capital, they say that's anti-Semitic, and so on and so forth. And the fact of the matter is that Irish people are somewhat like rabbits caught in the headlights, in the sense this problem has arrived so suddenly and become so massive in such a short space of time that a lot of people are still dazed by those words, racist, anti-Semitic, or Nazi, and they just cannot function in logical, coherent, and organized response to that. So it has fallen to a new political leadership to try to organize that incoherent sense of that the Irish people have, that there is something wrong somewhere. And that's definitely there. More than 80% of Irish people in opinion polls regularly state they believe there are far too many immigrants in the country. So the problem is not the popular opinion per se, and it's not being accepted by the popular will of the Irish people. The problem is to be found within the political system, and the fact that the political system refuses to represent that 80%. And up until now, we have not had to, and therefore we have not had a political organization to speak on behalf of the will of the Irish people and to represent them at a national political level. And putting that structure together in such a short space of time is no small endeavor, but we are doing it, and we are doing it as quickly as we can.
I agree with you that immediate self-deportations would happen if you remove these entitlement benefits. I think that a lot of that would just come to fruition on its own. But there's also something to be said about DEI programs in this country. For example, a lot of these people have come in here and then they've gotten jobs and they've replaced white people in the workforce, and they've taken jobs away from these people. They wouldn't self-deport. So how do you pick up the scraps?
Well, you're there at some point. You're going to have to face down these three words, and that are supposed to be so shameful in the modern world. You're going to have to face down these three words, and you're going to have to forcibly depopulate the country of its non-white